Module 4, Lecture 3, implementing the decisions that we've come up with. There are numerous change management processes. We'll just examine one here and talk about some change in general. Process we'll look at says, first, prepare for the change. Get everything ready for the change. Let people know that there's going to be change. People don't mind change as much as they mind being changed. So we just let people know there's going to be some change, you're going to be involved in it, here's what it's all about, here's what it's going to affect, and we'll start through the change process. So we develop the change management strategy, how we're going to actually roll this thing out. We're going to prepare the change management team. We're going to have some sponsors that help move this thing through the organization, work with different people. We're going to put those people in place, get them ready. We're going to manage the change itself. Develop the change management plan, take actions to implement the change and implement the plan. So take actions and implement the plans. There was an organization, it was a tax organization in one country. All countries have some kind of a tax organization. In the United States, we have the IRS. There's tax agencies in almost every country out there. One of these countries, their tax authority said, okay, we're going to change. What we want to do is become much more friendly to the taxpayers. We want to help them better. Yes, we're going to collect taxes from them, but we want to help them. We want to help them figure out how they have enough money taken out of their paychecks or how they save enough money aside so that at the end of the year they have enough to pay their taxes. We're going to help them all we possibly can. We're going to actually come up with a new name for our whole organization. We're going to come up with a new look for everything. We're going to come up with all different kinds of things. So what they did was they said, here's all the things we need to change. So they put process improvement teams on all kinds of things they did in the organization and said, okay, how do we make this thing better? How do we make it work better? How do we help the taxpayers of the country understand this better, work with it better? So they did a great job with all of that. The whole organization was involved in this, the whole agency. Then they came up with new names for everything. They came up with new logos, came up with all sorts of physical changes to the way things looked. Everybody was just really happy with everything. And then they had a big meeting. And a big group of all of these people came together in one place, and then smaller groups, so everybody was involved, came together in other parts around the country. And they all did this on the same day. They had this big, massive meeting, so everybody got together some places around the country in small or large groups. And what the organization did was they rolled out their new letterhead with the new name on there, new business cards for everybody, and the whole new look of everything that they had for this organization, and they changed the organizational colors. They never involved anybody in changing the colors. The management group, the top executive group, picked the colors that they were going to use for the new look of the organization. Everybody in the organization had a fit because they had been involved with every single step along the way with this change. And then right at the end, bang, just like that, the executive group made one change that did not involve everybody. That didn't go over well at all. So they eventually did go through another process of everybody turning in different color schemes and different ideas about how this should look, and they picked a different color scheme eventually. It cost them a lot of money. Well, it cost the taxpayers a lot of money, which was not good, but they did fortunately not have billions of these forms and cards and letterhead all printed out. So it changed to something that involved everybody. So manage the change effectively along the way. Reinforce the change. So collect and analyze the feedback. They got a lot of feedback when they tried to put this change in place. Diagnose the gaps and figure out, okay, we're still trying to get from here to here, and we're getting closer. We thought the change process would get us there, but it's not quite there yet. What else do we need to do? Implement corrective actions and celebrate successes along the way. So it's not always going to go exactly the way you planned. When you implement some of these changes, when we start to fix some of these things, we come up with some solutions from these problems, some decisions that we've made. We're going to start moving forward with these things. It means things are going to happen differently in the organization. People will do different things that they've never done. They'll have to stop doing things they've always done. They'll do things that they do now in a different way. There's all different things that are going to happen, and it's not easy for people to always accept that. So we just need to move through and help people understand that and reinforce this change as we move along, and sometimes step in and take corrective actions along the way. Let's take a look at this organizational change curve. What does this look like? Well, in our organization, this is our organization here, and everybody in the organization, and they're going to fall into some groups. One of them will be a group called the Explorers. These are the people that are out on the leading edge of any kind of change. These people like change so much that they'll just go change things just for fun. They just think it's fun to change things. Well, sometimes that doesn't work out too well, and these people might get damaged by making these changes because it hasn't been well thought through. But we decide, okay, this is a change we want to make. We know we have a group here that likes change. Let's start working with them, get them out there, starting to put this change in place. And then there's another group that has a little more sense right behind them, the pioneers here. They're going to start to follow the explorers. The pioneers kind of hold back a little bit and look to make sure that the explorers have not been killed off by this change. They've lived through the change, everything's fine, and the explorers are bringing success stories back. The pioneers say, well, we kind of want to be involved in that too, and off they go. So now we have about 10% of the organization up here, out there, leading this change forward, saying, this is pretty exciting, we really want to do this, this is great. Most everybody is going to be in this spot right here, the settlers, and they're going to say, okay, let's just hold on here. You're going to have to show me this thing works. So some of the explorers are a little closer up to the pioneers and the explorers. They're going to start moving out there faster, and they're going to start embracing these changes as success stories come back from the first people that are out there actually implementing the changes. It does work. It is better. This is wonderful. Okay, let's go do that too. I want to be involved in that. Little by little, most of the organization will move into the new areas where we want to have this change taking effect. However, there's a group back here, the stay-at-homes, and I don't care what you do with them, they are never going to do anything different than they've ever done it before in their whole lives. They're always going to do things exactly the same way. There was a police department who decided, you know what? Our officers are really the most important people in the organization. The frontline officers out there on the streets every day, they're the most important people in the organization. We're going to dump this organizational chart upside down. The frontline people out there are at the top of the organization, and the rest of us back here in the police stations and in the central police station, those of us with higher titles, we're here to support them. The frontline officers are not there to support us and make us look good. We're here to support them in what they do every day out there. In this organization, there were two captains that had been around forever, and they were used to a military hierarchy where they just, shout an order and people would say, yes, sir, and they'd just go do things, and that was that, no questions asked. And they couldn't understand that their job was now to support those people instead of boss them around. They couldn't figure that out. They couldn't figure out they were supposed to go ask the frontline officers, what do you need from me so I can help you do things better out there in the field? They just couldn't get that. So what did the police chief have the good sense to do? He realized, oh, these two people have a lot of organizational knowledge, experience, history with them. We don't want to just let them go and get them out of the organization. What we're going to do is put them over here. We're going to put those two in a little office down here, down the hallway, and let them work on special projects and take all of their authority over anybody else in the organization away. They have no authority over anyone else in the organization. They're completely taken out of the org chart and put in this little office over here for special projects. They were never going to change, and the police chief found a way. We can still use their knowledge and expertise. They don't have to just be tossed out of the organization. They can have a valuable role in this as well. You're going to have some stay-at-homes. Not everybody's going to do this. Fortunately, that will be less than 5% of the organization. So you don't have to worry too much about that. It should be closer to 1 or 2% of the organization. We're going to have minor and major changes. Minor changes. Minor changes are things that can be done usually with just some kind of a simple decision by somebody. It's not going to affect things drastically. We're going to have major changes along the way as well that also say, This really is a major change, and we need to rethink things. We need to think through things again, examine problems differently. We need to come up with new solutions. We need to work through some of the issues we have to deal with, make different decisions along the way. We have to start over basically from the beginning and work through this. We might not have to go all the way back to the beginning. We've got to go a long ways back here and start from this point again and then start to move forward. Minor changes, we might just be able to have a simple change order. We were going to paint a room a certain color, and we decided, no, we're going to change it to a different color. Change order. Somebody needs to approve that, because there was a group that decided at one point, this is the color we're going to paint the room, and now it's going to be different. Somebody has to actually approve that. So is that a group decision? Is that an authority decision? Is that an authority decision with some input? However that decision is made, somebody will be the one that can say, yes, let's go ahead and move this change forward. So we usually have a group of people somehow assigned to be able to approve changes along the way when we're doing things. Major changes that we talk about could include things like we're going to have an existing process that we do, and we just do this by hand all the time. Right now, you may have a hospital, and they've got a little clipboard hanging at the end of the hospital bed with a piece of paper on there, and they just go in and do some things, and they write some notes on that little clipboard on some form that's on there. Now we're going to automate that. It's going over here on a computer terminal. That's a major change. Implement a new patient tracking system in a healthcare facility. Another healthcare thing. We've got a way that we take care of tracking people now, and that's just not working. So we need to put something new in, completely different. Major change. We have a large project going on, and all of a sudden we know that there's a deadline here. Oh, the deadline has been moved up, and we have to get this thing done 6 months sooner and still do the same project, same quality level. Okay, we have to figure out how to do that. It's a major change. Changing the way that people just do their daily work. We always do things this way. Now we're going to do it in a different way. One factory that was manufacturing a product had a new factory manager come in and found out that, you know, things could maybe be done a little bit differently, but it might mean some change. What this factory manager did was went down to different people on the factory line and found the people who were doing each step in each group. They found the people that were doing this thing the best way. And they found all of those people throughout the whole factory, throughout this whole manufacturing process, and then had those people train everybody in their work unit in new ways to do things so that things could be done faster. And sure enough, by implementing a new way to do all these different steps along the way, things got done faster in the organization, and this factory became much more profitable, and everybody at this factory got bonuses. But it took some change. People had to do things in a different way. I've been doing this thing the same way for the last 10 years, and now you're telling me to do it a different way? Yeah, because of this, and this is how it works, and let me show you how it works, and here's the value of that. And you're going to get something out of it. We all got bonuses because we started actually doing this. Adding new elements into a project, we might have something going on, and we say, yep, we're doing this, this, this. Oh, and by the way, let's also do this. So you're remodeling part of your house. You decide that what you want to do is paint your kitchen, and as you start to paint the kitchen, you decide, gosh, we really need to tear out all of the countertops. So you tear out the countertops, get to put new ones in. Wait a minute, while we have the countertops torn out, why don't we put in new cupboards? Okay, so now we're going to put in new cupboards. So it just keeps going on and on and on. We just keep adding new elements to this thing. That's a major change. We're just going to go in on a Saturday afternoon and paint the kitchen. Now we've got a month-long process where we're redoing everything in the kitchen because we added some extra elements. There are numerous other major changes that you will find. All of these need to have a change control process that we put in place to manage these things well and have the change actually work effectively. And that also wraps up our problem solving and decision making series that we've been going through here. Thank you very much. And again, this has been brought to you from University of California, Irvine. I'm Rob Stone. Thank you for taking the time to join us with all of this.